Hello my friends, and welcome to one of my annual videos. I have a few different videos that I like to do every year about this same time of the year. This is going to be the third annual Christian fiction BookTubers collab. I don't really even remember what I call it, but it's where I give other Christian booktubers an opportunity to pop in on my channel, share some of their favorite Christian fiction books that they've read either recently or of all time. And I love that this gives you guys an opportunity to maybe be exposed to some booktubers you've never met before. Hopefully you'll get lots of book recommendations and channel recommendations from here. I always have all the booktubers and books linked below. There's a great variety here, all Christian booktubers, but many read different subgenres. You might connect with people's personalities. So if you're interested in what they have to say, please subscribe to them. It helps everyone out when you subscribe and watch their videos. And the Christian booktuber community is such a wonderful, uplifting community. I don't feel like it's competition, it's community. So the more you watch and like their videos, the better it is for everyone involved. I have recently kind of like been reinvigorated to read Christian fiction. I talked about that a little bit in my January reading wrap up, as well as I just did a video sharing 10 Christian authors that I love and 20 of their books, which are excellent. So if you want even more recommendations, check those out. But now let's get into everybody's clips sharing their books that they would recommend, and I will pop in at the end and share 2 Christian fiction books that I would recommend that are separate from the 20 that I shared recently. So hopefully your TBR kind of explodes in the best way after this video.
Hi, thanks Chantel for putting this together again. My name is Oceana. I'm from the channel Oceana Reads Co. I share about the Christian fiction that I read. I like romance. I read clean, no spice romance, some young adult, some thrillers, a little bit of mix of everything, but it's all through a Christian perspective. And I'm very excited to share this trilogy with you that I recommend. So it's the Gossamer Falls trilogy by Lynn Blackburn. The 3rd book comes out March 3rd, so I'm very excited. Perfect time to start these books because the first book is Never Fall Again, and in this world you're following a little town set in North Carolina and this family that has a lot of things going on. So it's a little bit like Romeo and Juliet, where there's 2 families that are like rivals. So there's drama in the town, and you follow this girl who comes to the town as a newbie, and she kind of integrates into this one family, and you see romance, there's a mystery, there's a little bit of arson, and it's very good. Very exciting. So highly recommend this one. And then book 2 is called Break My Fall, and you follow different characters from the family, but of course set in the same town, and you see things that are going on there. And then the 3rd book will conclude this family and you'll see the final romance. Very excited for it. So definitely recommend if you like reading group dynamics. There's a lot of characters to follow, but what this author is so good at is dialogue and navigating a scene where there's multiple characters and they're all giving their opinions, but it all works. It makes sense. There's good banter. It's funny. Like, I just truly love the way that she writes characters and how they interact. So that's what stands out. There is great faith content in these books too, and I just recommend them as a solid Christian fiction place to start.
Hi, I'm Katrie from the channel Book Nerd Katrie. Thank you so much, Chantel, for doing and putting together this video again. It's so much fun to see what everybody says. And thank you for allowing us to do 2 books. I'm super excited to share my top 2 favorite reads of the year last year. So, of 2025, my favorite reads were The Secrets of Avendor. This is by Chaney Hobson. It's the first in the Redemption Pirates fantasy Christian series. And this is just so good. We follow 2 main characters, Anika, who's on her way traveling to see her brother, and Ethan, a dreaded pirate. And so basically Ethan ends up stopping Anika's ship, and then both ships end up getting shipwrecked onto this mysterious island that just seems out to kill them all. So it's such a fun ride. I loved it so much. It gave a lot of like mysterious kind of Lost vibes, and that's like was one of my favorite shows. So really adored this one. The faith themes in it were like so strong and really well done, I felt like, while also not being like super overbearing or anything like that. So super adored and highly recommend this one. And then my other favorite of the year was Sense and Suitability. This is by Pepper Basham, and it's actually a Regency rom-com. So this was my first Regency that I actually picked up, and I adored this one. It's definitely made me want to pick up more. So in this story, it says, it actually like has like a cute little thing at the back saying, a woman with a scandalous past and an even more scandalous secret swears off love until the man who broke her heart needs her help. What could possibly go wrong? So basically, our main characters are Simon and Emmeline, and Simon breaks Emmeline's heart for reasons unknown to her, and he comes back and he's running his whole family's like estate now. He's in charge and he's trying to take care of his siblings, but the estate's kind of coming to ruin and he's got a lot of problems, and Emmeline tries to sweep in and help as a friend, and she even goes as far to be like, I'm gonna help you try to find a lady. It's quite the hoot, but it's also got so many amazing faith elements amongst it. I just really adored this book to death. So if you're into Regency or rom-coms, like this is just the perfect combination for you guys, especially if you want some nice Christian themes in one. Absolutely 100% recommend. So again, thank you so much for allowing me to share my favorite books, Chantel, and please pick one of these two up this next year, guys. I hope you love them.
Hi there, my name is Lindsey. I run the blog Books for Christian Girls. My channel is Lindsey from BFCG. Thank you so much, Chantel, for letting us just get to rave about the best Christian fiction books again. I am so excited to talk about these books. So, without further ado, we have Leap Day in the Square and Flag Day in the Square by Erin Mangum. If you like rom-coms, I'm going to suggest these books for you. If you don't think you like rom-coms, maybe because they're just too fluffy or unrealistic, I'm still going to suggest these books to you because they are not that. Yes, they have some humor, a lot of humor actually, strong faith content, and just like a really cute, squeaky clean romance, but they also have such a depth to them in this series and other books by Erin Mangum, who is one of my favorite authors. So if you want some really good Christian fiction that has a lot of Christian faith content and humor and wit and banter between the main couple and good lessons, like biblical lessons, I'm gonna really highly suggest this book series to you. These are the first two books in the Holidays in Hillview series. We follow 4 different sisters, and in the first book, Leap Day in the Square, we follow the youngest sister, Lucy, and she has 2 goals in life. The first one is to open her cotton candy truck in time for her town's Leap Day in the Square celebration, which I just think is like such a cute idea, number 1. And then number 2 of her goals list is to avoid Ben Wilson from high school. You know that's not going to happen, and it definitely does not happen because Ben Wilson is the new health inspector for the town. And there is such a lesson of forgiveness in this book and so many sibling moments, family dynamics, just a lot of humor. Such a good book, like really such a good book. Book 2 in the series is Flag Day in the Square, and we follow one of the other sisters, Danny, and she is a planner and organizer to an infinite degree. And she ends up getting hired as the town's event planner, and everything looks like it's gonna go great until a hailstorm ruins a lot of the planning and she has to work with a contractor that's just not taking things seriously in her eyes. And there's just a lot of different dynamics in this book as well. Strong faith content, lots of humor. I related to Danny quite a bit, so maybe that's why I really liked it, but I also just love the whole cast of characters, and because we get to see the characters from this book again in the extended bunch in this one, I'm going to recommend you read them in order, but they are both just so much fun. February's coming up. While it might not be a leap year this year, you could still read Leap Day in the Square and imagine it's a leap day. So if you decide to pick up either of these books, I hope you enjoy them. They are on Kindle Unlimited if that is a bonus for you if you have that subscription. And I highly recommend any of this author's books, but particularly these 2 new ones, because they are just so faith-filled with great humor and a very lovable cast of characters. I hope you enjoy them if you pick them up. And yes, thanks for listening to me fangirl, as always. So, bye y'all!
Hey everyone, my name's Caitlin and my channel name is Chronicles of a Book Nerd, and I read Christian fiction and clean fiction, mostly romance. Romantic comedy and romantic suspense are my faves, and I am here to share my favorite Christian romance of 2025, and that was Reverie by Drew Taylor. This book is about Esme, and 9 months prior to the start of the book, Esme was left at the altar, and so then consequently she goes on her honeymoon to Bora Bora alone and gets in a jet ski accident and loses her memory. So she now has amnesia, but she is writing a novel about a fictionalized version of herself, so a character named Esme, and it is a novel within a novel, so we get to see snippets of Esme's novel. And so anyway, fictional Esme, as we see in the snippets of her novel, goes to Bora Bora as well after she is left at the altar and meets an amazing guy named Noah and has a whirlwind romance. Now, real life Esme is a high school English teacher. She has completed her novel, and she goes to a meeting with a literary agent who looks exactly like Noah from her novel. So, did the events of Bora Bora that she wrote about in her novel really happen? Are they memories, or are they true, or is it truly just fiction? It's so good. I loved it so much. Such a good book. So I loved it so much that I am repping it with my merch. It says there's beauty in the bramble. That is a quote from this book. So I just want to read you the dedication and then the first line. The dedication says, "To all the girls who transpose mundane life into romantic reverie, make reality better than fiction." And the first line says, "To tattoo or not to tattoo? Bulging biceps with roses, thorns, and ivy inked in black over tan skin infiltrate my thoughts in intimate detail. In the middle of the chaotic, twisted flora and thistle is a simple cross. The words 'beauty in the bramble' weave around the cross." So there you go. There's the quote. Highly recommend this one. And thank you so much, Chantel, for letting me join in on this video.
Hey y'all, it's Amanda from the channel Book Lover Amanda. Thank you so much, Chantel, for putting together this awesome collaboration video again. I can't wait to see what everybody recommends. My channel is all about clean and Christian fiction. I've been doing this about 4 years. It's something I'm very passionate about. I live in Tennessee, you can tell from my accent, but on my channel you will find all kinds of clean and Christian fiction recommendations, faith chats, Bible study content, encouragement, and just a lot of laughs. I love a good historical romance, historical fiction, contemporary romance, general contemporary, so many different genres out there that I could recommend. I hope that you'll join me over there as well, but I'm so grateful to Chantel for putting this together. My top 2 Christian fiction books of 2025 that I want to recommend to you guys. First up, we have got Appalachian Song by Michelle Shockley. A lot of people have loved this book, and I see why. It is a beautiful, layered historical fiction story, dual timeline. We have an adoption thread in this. We have 2 timelines, 1943 and present day. In 1943, we've got Birdie Jenkins, who is a midwife, and a young girl named Songbird comes to her cabin with her sisters, and they end up taking her in because she's fleeing from her abusive father, and she is pregnant. And so they are going to take her in, take care of her. There's a lot of hardship along the way. Then we've got 30 years later, a young man is looking for his birth mother. It leads him to Birdie. What happens next? You just have to read to find out. It was a beautiful journey of faith. I cried so many times in this book. It's very emotional, but it's a really great read. I highly recommend it. And my top Christian fiction read of 2025 is The Voice We Find by Nicole Deese. This is a Christian contemporary romance. It is third in a series, but you can read each one as a standalone. This one was powerful as well. I love a good emotional story. It had layered characters. It had a lot of depth to the story. The main character is Sophie, and she returns home after a failed Broadway career. She ends up landing a job at Fog Harbor Books as an audiobook narrator, where she meets August Tate. August Tate has guardianship over his teenage sister who has a degenerative hearing loss. So this book has a lot of great representation from the deaf community, and I really appreciated it. Has a beautiful faith moment in the end. It was just amazing to see the journey that August and Sophie take, and to have the perspective of his teenage sister really added to the story. It's definitely one I would highly recommend. So those are my top 2 Christian fiction reads in 2025. I hope that you'll pick them up.
Hi, my name is Alma from Alma's Book Journey, and I am excited to participate in Chantel's collaboration for your favorite Christian fiction of 2025. And so I have read a ton of wonderful Christian fiction books this past year, and so I am going to talk about 2 of them. She said we can talk about 2 this this year. So both of these books have a similar theme, and that is the theme of redemption. And I love reading about books where characters go through, they go through life, real life, and hard things, and because of their love for the Lord or their coming to Christ, they have that redemption in their lives. And I just love a happy ending. So the first one I'm going to talk about is one I read in December, and it's called The Debt. And it centers around a woman who had a past that involved some really hard things, and a young man comes into her life after 28 years, and he tells her some things that kind of rock her world and really make her, she really is convicted of her own Christian life. And it's so good. I cried a lot in this book. And then the other one I really enjoyed in 2025 was The Masterpiece by Francine Rivers. It is a chunky book, but I read it really fast. It's a really fast read, and it's about two broken people, and they are each at different points in their spiritual walk. And it's really interesting because it's a perspective of somebody that is not a believer, not living a good life, and then a believer that's making bad choices, and the circumstances and the consequences that both of them have, but also how they react to it as a non-believer and a believer react to circumstances and how they deal with that. And there also is a beautiful love story between the two people as well as they work through those issues. Really, really loved this book. I can't tell you enough how much I really enjoyed this book. All right, so those are the two books that I recommend for Christian fiction. And thank you again, Chantel, for putting this together.
Hello, my name is Morgan. My channel is Morgan's Endless Bookshelf. And a couple of my favorite Christian fiction books from last year were, the first one was, that I want to talk about, was Never Fall Again by Lynn H. Blackburn. This is my, I'm new to getting into romantic suspense, but this is my all-time favorite romantic suspense book, at least for now. Their relationship was really sweet, and I really did like, the female main character has a kid, and so I love storylines with where a guy gets to know a kid. Like, that's just a really sweet storyline. So this was a really great one, and the family story here was also really great. And also really great small town vibes, and southern small town vibes specifically, because in case you couldn't tell, I'm from the South. I'm from Tennessee. I think this was set in North Carolina, but you know, still very, very similar to each other. And then the other books I wanted to talk about, this is a full series, but I'll just talk about it as one. The Matchmaker series by Jen Turano. I really love this series. It's really funny, really cute relationships. Just the humor especially is what Jen Turano does so well in her books. All three of these books were 5 stars for me last year, so I highly recommend this series and Never Fall Again.
Hello, my name is Taylor, and my channel name is Tales and Treats with Tay. Over on my channel, I love to talk about clean and Christian fiction, primarily historical romance, sci-fi, fantasy, fairy tale retellings. Actually, I love fairy tale retelling so much, I create a readathon surrounding it, and that is happening in the month of February, once upon a February. So if you're interested, I hope you will join us. But I want to share 2 books last year that I absolutely loved. First one is a fantasy, and that is Embergold by Rochelle Nelson. This one is about Gilday. She was raised in a very secluded part of the world with only her dad and a couple of servants, so she knows next to nothing about how the world works. But she has been told by her father that a dragon has been hunting him, and that's why they're in hiding. But one day, her dad says, I have a weapon, let's go kill the dragon. So they journey to go kill the dragon, and things do not go according to plan, and she's taken by the dragon. And she comes to realize that are things really as they seem? This book has so many things that I absolutely love in a story: romance, action, adventure, intrigue, mystery. This has an excellent cliffhanger. I was on the seat of my pants. I needed to know what happened. It was very intense. Super fun if you love fantasy and dragons. I love dragons. Switching gears to historical romance, A River Between Us by Jocelyn Green. This one is a Civil War time period story about Cora May. She is a cotton mill worker in Georgia, and that mill creates fabrics for the Confederates. So when the Yankees come through, they deem the cotton mill workers traitors to the Union and send them up north so they can no longer benefit the South. Cora May is escorted by a Union soldier, and there is some forbidden love going on there. This is based on true events. The author's note says that she was inspired by the story of a Union soldier proposing marriage to a Georgia cotton mill worker before she boarded the train to go up north. So it is loosely based off of that. There is also the component of Cora May having a young girl in her care that she acts as a mother to, so you have kind of like the adoptive mother type storyline in there as well. It is Cora May discovering what is true, where her values are with God in regards to the war, and her trying to get back home, and where love fits into all of that. Those are my recommendations for 2 of my favorite books that I read in 2025.
Hello, my name is Margaret Rose, and I'm fairly new to BookTube. I've been on for about 1.5 years now, and I've been loving it so much. I am a Christian. I read so many different kinds of books, popular books as well as fairly unknown books. I read fiction and nonfiction. I love fantasy. I probably read about every single genre out there except maybe romance. I don't read strictly romance novels, although I do love having a subgenre of romance in my books. As a new adult, I read, again, like everything. I read middle grade, YA, as well as adult literary fiction novels. A lot of the books that I read are recommended to me by Chantel, so it is honestly an honor to be here on her channel. Thank you so much, Chantel. I love how she also has such a variety of books that she reads and so many different genres and types of books. You can literally find whatever you want, and that is what I hope to have on my channel as well. Out of the 47 books that I read in 2025, I read about 8 Christian fiction books, and my number 1 book that I wanted to share here in this space is Long Fall by Penelope Wilcock. This is the 3rd book in the Hawk and the Dove trilogy. Originally it was a trilogy, now it has many other books, and I love this series so much. Basically, this series is about these medieval monks and just their day-to-day lives, and usually each book follows like a select few brothers and their personal stories. So in this 3rd book, we follow the abbot, who is now elderly and dying, as well as his very young assistant brother, who has grown very close to him. So it's a hard time. Each book is very touching and heartwarming in its own way. So that is definitely why I chose this book. They're so special. If you liked the brotherhood that is found in the Chosen series with the disciples, I definitely think that this is for you. It's phenomenal. They literally are like brothers, and it's so cool to see like their dynamic with each other. Yeah, I would 100% recommend that you pick this book up, or obviously begin with the first book. I do think you should begin with The Hawk and the Dove is the first book. Really, I just chose this book so that you can read this series. It's so good. They're very short though. They're max 200 pages each. So, and they're not hard to read either. So I recommend that you pick it up. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you so much for having me on, Chantel, and for listening.
Hi, my name's Ashley, and my channel's name is Ashley's Bookshelf. I read mostly mysteries and Christian fantasy and science fiction, with some nonfiction and other genres sprinkled throughout my reading. My favorite Christian fiction book of 2025 is actually a trilogy. That's the Firebird trilogy by Kathy Tyers. The premise of this series is that all of the nobles and royals on this planet have a ceremonial law where if the succession for their line is established, then once anyone 3rd born and later reaches adulthood, they either serve in the military and die honorably, or they commit suicide. And our main character, Firebird, she ends up meeting other characters who don't feel the same way, who are from other planets. One of them is a Christian, And I can't say too much more without spoiling book 1. Book 2, which was Fusion Fire, was a little difficult for me to pick up and read because the characters are going through some rough stuff, but they were necessary in order to set up book 3, Crown of Fire, which, again, I can't say much about the other books without spoiling the first one. This one does have one of my favorite scenes of somebody having to deal with their pride and put down their pride in order to follow the Lord's will for the events going on in the book. I will say book 1 did surprise me. I only picked up this book originally because I needed it for a prompt for a reading challenge I was doing. The prompt was space, and so I just Googled Christian books set in space, and this one popped up, and I borrowed it from my library. Loved it. The first 3 books are a contained trilogy. You can stop after book 3 and be done, but there are 2 books that follow descendants from this series, and then Kathy Tyers is also writing another trilogy that I think takes place between books 3 and 4. I hope you'll give Firebird a try.
Hi guys, my name is Paula. My channel is called Reading in Darkness. It's not a very big channel, but I've been around for a while. I like historical fiction, Christian or otherwise. That's really my favorite genre. I'm also known to read Amish fiction, stuff like that. I'm totally blind, so my video quality isn't always the best, which is probably why my subscriber count is not very high, but I hope my personality makes up for it. Anyway, so I have a book to recommend. It's called The Medallion by Kathy Gulke. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce her name. It's Gohlke. I didn't even know she was a Christian fiction author, but apparently she is. This is World War II fiction. So we have 2 families. This takes place during the Blitzkrieg of Warsaw. We have 2 families. We have Sophie Kuminga. She's a British bride working in the city library, and her husband Yannick, he recently got deployed with the Polish Air Force. So she's living in Poland with, with him, and he's deployed. And then we have, she's pregnant at the beginning of this. And then we have Rosa and Yitzhak Donovich are Jewish, and we see their struggles. They have a baby, and then they have to decide whether to basically send her away for her safety. They're in the ghetto. And Rosa basically breaks a medallion in half and gives her little girl part of it, and she has part of it. It's not as cheesy as it sounds, I promise. There are some really sad things in this book, but there's also some romantic bits for the people who like romance and stuff like that. There's definitely a lot of prayer and stuff like that from the Jewish and beliefs and Christian beliefs. So yeah, it's one of my favorite books, and no one really talks about it much. I know some of the booktubers I watch have read other books that she's written, but not that one. And so yeah, I thought I would put it out there. Hope I get this in on time, and hope you guys have a great 2026. Bye.
I hope you've been able to hear about lots of great books so far. I have 2 books to share that I did not share about in my video like a week and a half ago when I was talking about my favorite Christian fiction authors and 20 of their books, because the specifications that I made for that video is that I had to have read and loved at least 2 of their books. And I'm going to share 2 authors that I have just started reading, so I only have 1 book of theirs that I love, although one of them, it's a book plus a short story, so it's like almost 2 books, but not quite. So neither of these made it into that video. The first one I did talk about in my January reading wrap-up. It is The Donor by Jennifer Dyer, and this is a YA thriller with some faith elements in there, and it's totally clean. I just appreciate when I can trust an author. So we have 2 main characters. One is a 17-year-old girl who's really smart. She's a hacker, She's tried to help expose black market organ donation stuff and that kind of world. She doesn't always do it legally. The FBI has visited her, and a couple of years before her father died, and she's pretty sure he was murdered because of who he works for. He works for this medical company. So she has it out for the head of the medical company. Our other main character is the son of the head of the main medical company guy, and he is also 17. He has had this heart condition his whole life. He is told at the beginning of the book he has 6 weeks before he needs to have this major heart surgery, which only gives him a 20% chance of survival. And so he's been very sheltered his whole life. Now he's kind of thinking about, like, what does he want to do in these next 6 weeks? Yeah, there's a lot going on in this book. It was really fun, really twisty, and really clean, which I just appreciate that I can trust. The other one is a suspense book, which I've heard amazing things about and have been meaning to read for years, and I finally just read it this week, and that is Crisscross by C.C. Warrens. What I loved about this book is it is a Christian suspense book with like no romance. When does that ever happen? I feel like every time Christians, most times, like 98% of the time, there's a Christian suspense book. You have this damsel in distress who's like in her mid-20s, and it just so happens that the officer that is assigned to her case is also in his mid-20s, and then they fall in love. Most like detectives and people that would be assigned to these cases would be older, and in this one we do have a girl who is a bit of a damsel in distress, and the guy that's assigned to her case is like 20 years older and ends up being very much like a father figure to her, which I just appreciate because I feel like that's so much more realistic. But we follow Holly. She has no memories from before she was 10. So she's got this like blank space in her life, and then she spent her 10 to 18-year-old years in foster care with some very traumatic experiences. And we start out with her at the age of 28. She's a photographer. She's taking pictures. All of a sudden, creepy people are following her, and lots of stuff goes down. She is not a very trusting person because she's got this like, blank space of memory where she doesn't remember things, but knows it must have been very traumatic. And then she has these like years of trauma in the foster care system where she was in 12 homes in 10 years, I think it was, or something like that. So she just has a hard time trusting people. But throughout this book, she learns to trust the detective that's assigned to her case very, 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 very slowly. And I just felt like it was very real with all her trauma. And the book was very intense. I finished it yesterday. I was like, I'm sitting on my couch until I finish this book because I need to know what happens. And it is a series as well. So I definitely plan on continuing the series, reading more from C.C. Warrens. Highly recommend it. And so that is all for this year's Christian fiction collab video. I hope you found some new to you booktubers to subscribe to. I hope you found some books that sound very interesting. If you guys have recommendations for us, please leave them in the comments. We would all love to hear them, and we will keep doing this every year. I have no plans to quit this. I will leave the links to the last 2 years in the description as well if you want to watch those ones and get even more ideas. Thanks so much for hanging out with all of us today.